Howdy folks, welcome to Camera Shake with me, Kirsten Nuts, and in today's episode, I'll be showing you my 5 favorite cameras that I actually use all the time. So buckle up, grab a cold one, and let's shake it up right after this. Welcome to Camera Shake Podcast, episode 155. But hang on, before we get into today's episode, as always, I have one small favor to ask of you. Please do me a favor and join the Camera Shake community over on camerashakepodcast.com so that you're the first ones to know when we've got some exciting news for you. You'll find the link in the description, or if you're watching on YouTube, well, I say that, but sometimes I forget. So without further ado, let's get right into it and let's have a look at my 5 favorite cameras. Okay, let's have a look at my number 1 camera. That's the Nikon Z6ii. And that really is my workhorse for any situation. I use this for stills, for studio work. I use it for commercial work. I use it for headshots, portraits, you name it. This camera basically does it all. It's got a 24.5 megapixel sensor, which is ideally suited for video as well. The video specs on this camera are great also. So it's ideally suited for video as well. So it's a real hybrid camera, which for me is perfect. Some people predominantly shoot stills. Maybe, if you're predominantly a stills photographer and you don't really deal with video at all, then maybe the Z7 II might be better suited for you. But the Z6 II really, if you're doing hybrid work where, you're either switching between stills and video, or maybe you're doing a little bit of stills and you're doing a little bit of video. The Z6 II is a beautiful camera. It's really small. That's the one thing. If you compare that to the Z8 that we spoke about last week, or even to the D750, which is incidentally that's what I'm filming with now. Because ordinarily I would be filming the podcast with the Z6 II, but since I'm holding this up here, I'm currently filming with the D750. So even compared to the D750, this is a small body. It's really lightweight. In fact, it still has a really good grip, which is that's what I like about Nikon cameras. I think is they seem to really fit well into my hand. If anything, I would say that without a battery grip, for me, maybe it's even a little bit too small. My pinky finger kind of comes off the bottom here, and that's just a little bit annoying, but hey, one of those things. But anyway, it's great for video. It's got a really wide ISO range as well. So it ranges from 100 to 512,000, which is fantastic. So in low light situations, you're really covered. I've used this for concert photography as well. Works really well. The autofocus is great. Vast improvement from the Z6 to the Z6 II. The autofocus is great. Of course, it's still, it's still miles away from the Z8 or the Z9, clearly, because, they're newer cameras and more powerful. But this one has a dual processor. So basically what I did was with the original Z6 II, they had an XP6 processor in there, and that just couldn't really keep up with, with the autofocus, really. So they just put another processor in there, and so this one has 2 chips, and it works. Yeah, it works pretty well. I'm quite happy with it. There are always cameras that do better than this one, clearly. But as far as a workhorse is concerned, this is great. It does everything that I needed to do, from portraits to headshots to commercial work to video, and it's light, it's robust, it's solid, and reliable. Just simply reliable, because that's why I call this my money maker, because that's basically what makes money for me. So there you go. That's a Z6 II. What else? It has, just talking about the video specs for a minute, it has IBIS built in, image in-body image stabilization. It shoots, 4K up to 30 frames. And it allows you to shoot at 10-bit N-Log, however, only to an external recorder. And if you've seen last week's episode where I was talking about the Z8, so that was one of the biggest advantages as far as the Z8 is concerned, is that it allows you to do that in body. So rather than having to put a Ninja on top or using some form of an external recorder, which is highly annoying, it's just another thing you don't need. But for most applications, that's a great camera. It also doesn't break the bank. It's considerably less expensive than a Z8, if you think about that. So it's a great choice out there. There are Canon equivalents, but if you have the lenses, then this will do just fine. The Z mount, by the way, I should say, is beautiful. It's big, it lets in a lot of light, and it looks great. I've managed to get some amazing results with this. It's just, that's my workhorse, the Nikon Z6 II. Okay, and here's camera number 2. It's the Fuji X100F. It's a beautiful little camera. It's a real retro feel, and I love that camera. It's after the Z6 II, this is really one of my favorite cameras. I love it because it's got a fixed lens with an equivalent of, it's an APS-C sensor, so it's an equivalent of a 35mm. If you're thinking full frame. It's a fixed lens, so you can't change the lens. So you're stuck with that 35mm. What that means is, it means that you have to be a little bit more creative. It really makes you think on your feet, quite literally on your feet, since you can't zoom in or out. You're going to have to actually, use your feet, walk up closer or, walk backwards so that you get a wider angle, because 35mm is what you got. And you can get some additional lenses that you screw at the top. There's sort of, lens extensions or whatever they're called. But generally speaking, that's what you got. That's really why I bought it originally, because I found that, I used to take a big Nikon body and a bunch of lenses with me every time we went out on a trip, or every time I went into town, or went into some street photography or whatever. And the reality is, it was just a lot of kerfuffle. It's just too much kerfuffle, really. Because if you think about it, you're walking around and you're going to change the lens, you're going to take the body out of the backpack, and you're going to change the lens over. And, more often than not, you're going to get to that point where you think that was too much hassle, so I'm not going to do it. And actually, you come back with surprisingly few images. So I thought it might be a good idea just to, get a small camera that really allows me to create incredible imagery. And it really just forces me to simplify. Sometimes creativity is found in simplicity, and that's really what that's done. It's simplified the process. It made me think. And as a result, I'm just simply taking more pictures, and it's more fun. What I love about the Fuji X100 line, and that includes the X100F, and of course the newer version of that, the X100V, is that it's just a haptic. It feels great. It has physical dials on it. The shutter button it's like an old school shutter button. It looks like an analog camera. The amount of times that people stop me in the street and ask me about, whether I'm shooting with film or what camera that was, and whether it's an old camera or not, you won't believe. Virtually every time I go into town, I use this thing. Somebody stops me and asks me about that. But it's not. It's a fully digital camera. It's great. The interesting thing about the X100F is that, as I mentioned, there's a newer version, the 100V out there. And so you would think, well, so it must be, the F, the slightly older model, must be a really good bargain to pick up secondhand. But I've just noticed that, or I've just realized that the prices for this camera hold incredibly well. So you're still looking at something like, anywhere between 1,100 to 1,300 pounds secondhand for one of these, which is amazing. So if you have one of these, hold on to those. And if you're thinking about getting a really great, fixed lens camera for street photography, for example, or just something that's small enough so you can carry it around with you quite easily. You don't have to take extra lenses, anything like that. Something that's small, practical, and allows you to create great imagery. The Fuji X100 line is definitely something I recommend. The other thing I love about this, I'll tell you, is the fact that you can create loads of different film simulations. So Fujifilm's been known for creating really great looking film stock over the last 500 years. But you can digitally recreate those in the camera. And it's a really cool app that you can use also that gives you lots of recipes that you can experiment with and play around with. And I've come up with some really cool looking film simulations with this that I just love to shoot with. So it's a little bit like, in a weird way, it's a little bit like shooting film without actually shooting film, if you know what I mean. So it's a great opportunity to just get a little bit more creative. This camera has some really cool little features. For example, it's got built-in ND filter. which is great. So if you want to shoot at a wide aperture in broad daylight, a built-in ND filter comes in really handy. But also, just if you want to just get out, some more details, some more color in the sky, you just press a button. You can set the ND filter to a function button. You just press a button and the ND filter kicks in. It's fantastic. It's some amazing images. As far as the sensor is concerned, it's an APS-C sensor, but it's 24 megapixels. That's more than enough to print large. I've got some very large prints on the wall here that you can't see, but that I shot with this. It produces amazing images, and it's it's like I said, it's one of my favorite cameras to use. I love it, just love it. Right, here we go. Favorite camera number 3. Now I know before I take it out, I know some people are going to go, oh no, but it is what it is, because my favorite camera number 3 is an iPhone, the iPhone 14 Pro. The reason why it is one of my favorite cameras is because, you know what they say, the best camera is the one you've got with you all the time. And that's what makes this an extremely useful tool. Now, on the photography side, these smartphones have come on a long way, and the quality that you can produce with those is absolutely stunning. Now, what I love about the iPhone 14 Pro is the fact that it's got 3 lenses. It's got a wide angle, an ultra wide, and a telephoto lens built in that gives you a range of different focal lengths, which is fantastic. So you can get everything from super freaky, super wide to like a 3x zoom on it or something with the telephoto lens and optical zoom, which is fantastic. It's a great choice. It's a great camera to have around with you, and I'm pretty sure, there are other smartphones on the market that have equally good cameras, I guess. But having a camera in your pocket all the time just allows you to take those shots that otherwise you wouldn't take. Again, just imagine if you have a camera in your back, on your backpack or something, by the time you've taken it out or whatever, it's, things have happened and the moment's gone, the moment's lost. But with an iPhone, you can take photos wherever you are. And I find that's really important, especially when it comes to, family, for example. The amount of photos that I've got on my iPhone, that are photos of my daughter growing up, really ever since she was born. She's 11 now, almost 12. It's incredible. I remember, I think it was my 30th birthday when my mom, as a present, put together a photo album of photos for me, which I loved. There were some pictures from my childhood and when I first moved to London, and back then I used to be a musician, so there's some cool photos from that time. But the amount of photos that you can pick from, that was really small. I have thousands of images of my daughter on my phone, of her growing up and all the the key moments, or just funny moments around the house. Her playing with the dog or making goofy faces, or Eurovision. gotta be mentioned. Whatever. Events that are just that are memorable, or just moments that happen. Because I don't know, for all of you guys, if you're listening or watching this on YouTube, if you have kids, there are so many goofy moments that happen all the time, and being able to record that in really high quality photography and video, it's just amazing. So the technology has come such a long way that I think it's just incredible. And I don't really think there's a stigma attached to taking photos with your phone anymore. It's just really, if you think, it's all about the image at the end of the day. And if you look around, I remember talking to Lisa Carney, for example, and her mobile photography, and I'll put a link to that up here somewhere. Check that episode out, because that's proof that you can create incredible photography with an iPhone or a smartphone. Other brands are available. So quite clearly, that is my favorite camera number 3. Right, here we go. Here's my favorite camera number 4, and it is the Fujifilm Instax Evo. Now that's a little bit of an oddball because it's an Instax camera, so it's an instant camera, basically, similar to a Polaroid. If you're not familiar with the Instax brand, very similar thing. And the reason I love this camera, I really love it, is the fact that all my other cameras are digital cameras. You know, create digital files, you work on them on the computer, and then sometimes you print, sometimes you don't. Most of the time I don't. I really don't print a lot at all. Very, very rarely have client work that needs printing. But I like the process. So sometimes just having something tangible in your hand, like a print, it's just a beautiful thing. And it's so easy with one of these Instax cameras. So Fujifilm have a range of different Instax cameras in their lineup, and I basically own a number of those. But this one, the Instax Evo, is sort of it's a really cool hybrid between a digital camera and an instant camera. So it's an instant camera basically, but you can do a number of different things with it. First of all, it has a screen on the back, and it allows you to take a picture, and then it allows you to change things about it. It allows you to. It has different film simulations in there. It has different lens options and lens effects, and you can create some really creative photographs with that. And then once you're ready, you pull this lever, which is like one of these film forwarding levers from back in the day, and then it prints out your photo. So whilst some of the other Instax cameras are essentially just super simple, you just press a button, the thing prints, awesome. But this one has a few more features that I think are really useful. You can use it as an instant camera, but you can also link it up to your phone and just use it as an Instax printer. So that's even better, because now, so you can take photos that you've taken on your phone and you can create instant prints with that, which is amazing and really so much fun. So, to give you an example, these prints, if you remember the old Polaroid format that was kind of square, these ones are different. Instax have a number of different formats. They also have a square film, they have a slightly sort of larger film, and they have these ones here that are really perfect for kind of portrait type of images. And they're really great. They're really super fun. I find that I look at these prints a lot more than I look at digital photos on my camera, for example, or photos on my phone. These ones are beautiful. I have them on my desk all the time. We took some photos the other day. We had the Eurovision song contest final. I went to a little party. It was hilarious. I lost. Never mind. Some terrible songs. It's not. I mean, it's a song competition, but it really is about. It's kind of about who has the most terrible song. Germany beat the world. Well, that's terrible. Anyhow, so I have these photos on my desk. Photos of my kids, or other photos that I take, and they just remind me of good times. And it's really fun. I just enjoy it. It's a thing that puts fun back into photography. And I think sometimes, that's important, because especially for those of you who, are professional photographers maybe, or, for those of you who do this for a living, sometimes it can become a little bit like a chore, I guess. Taking pictures is your livelihood, and you might love it, but there are those moments where you're just not inspired anymore, and you just putting the camera down, and then maybe you get to the point where you feel that your creativity is stifled a little bit. And I find that using cameras like the Fuji X100F or like the Fuji Instax Evo, it just puts the fun back into photography for me, and I just love it. So I take that with me on travels, but I also, when I do a job, usually when I do a bigger shoot, for example, I always take a group photo of the crew with this camera. And it's great because you can, with this particular one, you can actually take the picture and then you can print out several copies. So everyone can have a copy, which is great. It's a great little souvenir. It works really well. It's just a beautiful little thing. Now, the Instax Evo sets you back roughly about something like 175 Great British pounds. And I know I'm talking pounds. If you're using a different currency like US dollars or whatever, maybe do the conversion, but it's roughly about, give or take, about more or less the same. So 175 quid, as we say. It doesn't break the bank. It is super fun. The only thing I would say is is that the Instax film, so it takes the Instax mini format. They are quite pricey. There's 10 images on this film, and I think 2 films probably set you back about somewhere around £14. So you want to be conscious of when you're taking an image. So the spray and pray thing isn't going to work with this camera. And again, that's actually a great limitation. I love that. It makes me think, it makes me think about every time I press the shutter button. And, again, it's different from taking digital pictures. On a digital camera, you can take as many pictures as you want. Doesn't really matter. You just pick the one that you like in the end and, you're golden. With this one, you got to think in advance. It's like the olden film days. Although, even on 35mm film, you had 24 images on there or something, or 36 sometimes. But with this one, you got 10. That's all you got. 10 images, use them sparingly. Every time you press the button, it's a dollar sign going up. So, still mega fun. So pick one of these up. That's the Instax Evo. But like I said, Fujifilm have a number of different models. Some are kind of quirky and bubbly and colorful and fun. But there's another sort of retro looking version of the slightly simpler Instax camera, which is also great. I used to have that, but I can't remember the exact one. I'll look it up. I'll put it in the video at the bottom there. Yes, get yourself an instant camera. It is hilarious. And here we are, my favorite camera, number 5. It is a bit of an oddball. It's an Agfa Isolette from 1937. In fact, this camera has a lot of meaning to me personally, because this used to be my grandmother's camera. And so, photography in my family goes back 3 generations. And my grandmother graduated as a photographer in 1938. And this was the camera that she got as a graduation present. And it's still in my family. And believe it or not, it's still fully functional. Listen to that sound. Ooh. Just sounds great. It's still fully functional, which is really a testament to the craftsmanship in those days. So things were made to last. It's a bevel camera. It collapses, which is kind of cool. And you press a button. It comes out. Let's do it again. Have a listen to this. Oh. Love it. Sideways view. They don't make cameras like this anymore. It's a beautiful camera. It has a lot of nostalgic appeal, obviously, but it's just a timeless beauty, and I absolutely love it. The folding bellows are made of leather, and there's a danger, of course, because this camera is, over 8 decades old. As I said, there's a danger that perforates and lets some light in, so you need to be fairly careful with that and look after it. But this one in particular is in really good nick. They made these from 1937 through to the early 50s, I believe. But this is a first generation model, so this has been around. It takes a medium format film, so it's a little bit like the original Instagram if you think about it, square pictures. So you can still get film for this 120 film. It still works absolutely perfectly fine enough. It's a family heirloom, really, and that's one of the reasons why I love it so much. So it just evokes that sense of nostalgia and creativity in me, and it's a film camera. Again, it's a little bit different from shooting digital all day. And I've seen some images that were taken with this camera back when it was new, and the image quality was exceptional. I mean, you wouldn't believe it, really. If we think we create sharp images today, these images were sharp. Everything, of course, on this camera is absolutely manual. So everything from choosing the aperture to choosing the shutter speed, everything is a manual dial. So, well, there's a lot of guesswork involved in those days. You had to kind of guess, and you had to use a light meter, which is an art form that's maybe a little bit forgotten about nowadays. But this Agfa Isolette is a beautiful camera. I love it to bits, and it's definitely always going to be one of my favorite cameras of all times. And it's really quite portable as well. Fantastic. And that, my friends, concludes our journey through my 5 favorite cameras. Each of these cameras holds a special place in my heart for various reasons, whether it's the professional capabilities of the Nikon Z6II, or the portability and fixed lens of the Fujifilm X100V, the fun and instant prints of the Instax Evo, the convenience and versatility of the iPhone 14 Pro, or the timeless charm of the Agfa Isolette. These cameras have brought joy, creativity, and unforgettable moments into my life. Remember, the best camera is the one that sparks your passion and enables you to capture the world through your unique perspective. Whether you're a professional photographer, an enthusiast, or someone who simply loves documenting life's moments, there's a camera out there that's perfect for you. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it insightful. If you have any questions or want to share your own favorite cameras, make sure you leave a comment below. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay updated with future content. Thank you for joining me, and happy shooting. See you next Thursday.